with Joshua for 4 years. Lincoln's thighs were as perfect as a human being's could be. These are actual quotes found by the New York Times from Abraham Lincoln and his law firm partner. Miss O'Connor, wait, I swear this is my presentation. Please don't call the office. I'm not talking about sex. I'm talking about queer history. In fact, according to the Trevor Project in 2019, a whopping 63% of students say they've never learned about queer history. And fellow APUSH students, I know what you're thinking. Sadie, we know you're a genius, but why should we listen to you on this topic? You clearly haven't noticed my nose piercing or my statement blazer. Now that I've come out to you, let's explore why queer history has been so hidden, how this has detrimental effects on the development of queer students, and how we can stop sweeping this side of history under the rug. Because history must include the whole story. One of the main reasons teachers hesitate to teach queer history in school is because they view talking about queer people as effectively talking about sex in the classroom. Something our beloved Miss O'Connor would definitely take issue with. We were all there for that vaping assembly, right? I know you were, Brandon. Court mandated. Bethany Leonardi, teacher and co-founder of charity A Queer Endeavor, explains the root of this fear perfectly. Teachers worry that lessons will be inappropriate or focused on sex, but people aren't inappropriate. It's possible to talk about the many ways LGBTQ people have made history without getting into their sex lives any more than one would when discussing straight people in history. Now, I know I didn't exactly give the perfect example of this with my Lincoln quotes, but there's a way to acknowledge these sides of historical figures, and it can even help students understand them more. After all, that's why Lincoln's hat was so big. It's full of secrets. However, it may not always be up to the teacher to include queer history or quistory in their curriculum. According to Olivia Waxham of Time magazine, laws in 6 states ban the promotion of homosexual lifestyles, and laws geared towards sex ed classes can further deter LGBTQ history efforts. One of these states, unsurprisingly, is Alabama, who banned the live-action Beauty and the Beast because of an openly gay candle. That was the romantic arc you took issue with. She had Stockholm Syndrome with Bigfoot! Alabama aside, we need to create open environments for students from all walks of life. And one of the easiest ways to do so is to not treat them as an uncomfortable topic. The lack of queer history taught in schools has drastic effects on queer students. And let me tell you, that's a lot of students. UCLA's law school found in 2018 that there are roughly 2.5 million queer students in the US, explaining the 31.5 million streams of Rain on Me. That's 2.5 million students whose identity is being deemed controversial or treated as if it didn't exist until now. It's nothing short of devastating. A lack of education means a lack of representation, leaving queer students to be overlooked and ostracized. It's easy to become hopeless when you are being treated as if your community, and by extension you, don't matter. Additionally, the government organization Stop Bullying found that in 2018, queer students are twice as likely to experience bullying. And not much is stopping this from happening. Bullies are being shown in our curriculum that being queer doesn't exist, encouraging them to bring homophobia from their home lives to school. In case you didn't notice, Brandon, I'm subtweeting you, Mr. No Homo. On a more serious note, it's no surprise that a lack of representation and bullying can do serious psychological harm to queer students. According to the Journal of Adolescent Health, from 2015 to 2018, 24% of suicide deaths in young teens were among LGBTQ youth. This is tragic and grossly disproportionate. It's closely tied to the fact that queer students are often given the daunting task of coming out to an unwelcoming home. So gifting them with an accepting environment can make all the difference when queer people, time and time again, are being forced to face hostility solely for how they identify themselves. These open doors don't only need to belong to Miss O'Connor's classroom, which you sit in every day at lunch until she tells you, "Giving me adoption papers is inappropriate, I'm not your mom." I'm not speaking from personal experience, of course. A lack of education and representation paired with hostile classrooms and classmates can do a serious number on queer students. However, progress is simple. For such a deep-rooted and daunting issue, there luckily is a clear and obvious solution. We must incorporate LGBTQ history into our school's curriculum. Representing all sexual and gender identities in our classes can help loosen the tight grip homophobia has on our school system and society at large. In fact, according to that same 2019 study conducted by the Trevor Project, LGBTQ students in schools with queer inclusive curriculums were 22% less likely to feel unsafe because of their sexual orientation and 16% based off of their gender expression. The importance of this finding is monumental. Even I know that's a huge difference, and I suck at math. Pythagorean theorem? Never heard of her. Speaking of never heard of, by simply including figures like Alan Turing, inventor of the modern-day computer and breaker of Nazi Germany's code, or Marsha P. Johnson, a black trans woman who literally threw the first brick at Stonewall, we can provide representation for students who are disproportionately at risk. Teacher Deb Fowler affirmed this sentiment in a 2019 The Guardian article when speaking about her student, Muhammad's experience when a close friend came out to him. Muhammad said to me that because of what he had learned in our classroom, he was able to understand his friend better, and that they became even closer afterwards. That's what this is about, creating closer connections between friends and safer schools and communities. This experience doesn't have to be unique to Muhammad. Straight and cis students everywhere will be able to understand their queer classmates and friends better. Maybe we can even help Brandon. Just kidding, we shouldn't play God. This improvement may even help some queer students embrace their queerness and live a more fulfilling, free life. And literally, all you have to do is talk about how maybe Honest Abe was honestly like super gay. Now that we've worked through the causes of this historical revisionism, the impact that it has on students, and what steps to take to foster more empathetic school communities, I hope our school and others can create a more welcoming environment for students. Let's open some chapters in our history textbooks, because in the immortal words of the incomparable Fat Amy from Pitch Perfect, let's be honest, Susan Gilbert and Emily Dickinson were not just roommates. So let's stop hiding queer history from students, because love is love, representation matters, and knowledge is power.